Greetings, my wonderful jelly spoons. You join me in the middle of an Apple photo shoot. It is exactly how it sounds. So before we begin filming even more bits and pieces and showing you behind the scenes of that, I want to talk you through sort of what exactly I'm doing. So I gave you guys a prompt over on my Instagram, my Patreon, my Kofi, various different places, and I said that I'm creating an American Horror Story style intro, and I want to test my filmmaking, creative, and editing skills, but I don't want to pick the theme myself, so if you guys can throw me words, give me anything you want, and I will utilize those. You guys got back to me in droves, which was marvelous of you, and I used most of those words. Some of them I couldn't because some of them were specific actors who I didn't want to use because I can't literally get them, so sorry, I had to ignore some of those. But the majority I did use, and I'll tell you what those words were in a moment. What I want to say for now is that I took all those words and I used them to create a rough idea of a story, a plot outline. I didn't get into the complete nitty-gritty of all of it because obviously you're not going to see all of that in the intro, but while I was watching and rewatching all of the intro sequences for the other American Horror Story seasons, I realized that they do have hints of the plot going through them. And if you watch the intro back, having watched the entire season, you can sort of see what they were hinting at and, oh yeah, that meant this and that meant this. So I wanted to have a little bit of that in my intro as well, so that when I tell you the story that I had in my head, hopefully you'll watch the intro at the end of this video and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Or not much sense. I mean, it's American Horror Story, so it doesn't all really make sense, does it? So, what were the words that you guys gave me that I chose to use? Well, there was quite a lot of you who gave the same word, which I'm very grateful for, so I put that right to the top of the list. The main one was blood and gore. Those two, yeah, they are top tier, top of the list. Fairy tale or fairy tales or ghost stories, that got quite high up on this too, so that's in there as well. Elements I have used, but I used sort of like as weather, so bear with me on that one. And there was also things like reflection and mirror, which is obviously the title of this season, for reasons that will become more apparent as we're going along. There was also things like dark and prison or cell or prisoner. I chose to take a take on those, and again you'll see why when I explain the plot through to you. And there was trapped, twisted, various words like that. So I feel I've managed to get them all in there, again, except for those of you who suggested specific actors. I'm sorry, I can't literally hire them right now, so it's just me. But everybody, no matter what word you use, thank you for throwing those words in. I have used them all, and it just made it more challenging for me to use your words to create a story rather than just doing it all by myself. So what is the story? Well, allow me to tell you. The three stories I chose to base it on are two fairy tales and one, not quite fairy tale, but we're gonna call it a fairy tale for the sake of argument. And this is predominantly Snow White, a little bit of Sleeping Beauty, and a tiny bit of The Portrait of Dorian Gray. Really, really love that story. As you can probably guess from what I have titled this series, the entire story revolves around a mirror, or a creature in a mirror, which is the dark, shadowy, hooded figure that you can see in some of the shots. So you've got this mirror with a creature inside, a creature who can tell you the truth or what you believe is the truth. A bit like, you know, magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all, that kind of thing. So I decided that there would be characters who are using this mirror and historical users of the mirror, and potentially someone who wants the mirror back who hasn't been able to find it again. I also wanted to play on the idea of immortality and twisted fairy tales, and the more I look at Snow White, it's not an original take, but the more I look on that as a vampire story. You know, skin as white as snow, which I always see as like, you know, dead and pale. Lips as red as blood, you know, because you've got blood on them because you're a vampire. And hair as dark as ebony, which, I mean, vampires don't have to have dark hair, but this one in particular does. So I decided that somehow, somewhere, over the course of time, there's this magical creature in the mirror who's a dark and sinister creature, and there's this immortal vampiric character. And somehow those two are at odds with each other. And the mirror, for now, has both won and lost. Lost in the fact that they are trapped still within their mirror. Think a really, really dark version of Adavos from the Dragon Prince. But before they got completely trapped in their mirror world, they did manage to cause a tiny piece of harm to the vampire character. So I decided the Snow White vampire character has a loved one or a lover, family member, any of those things, didn't really decide which. And that character, the lover or loved one of the Snow White vampire character, that's the one that I decided to put in the prison or be the prisoner. So that's how I use that word. So when you see clips of the sort of cage-like coffin surrounded by trees and leaves, that is where I'm putting the Sleeping Beauty character. That's the loved one or the lover of the vampire. And this is why I also created a spinning wheel with a spindle with the finger about to get pricked on the spinning wheel. So somehow the mirror managed to influence things so that this Sleeping Beauty character, or the Aurora character, pricked their finger and fell into this deep sleep. And then they were encaged by either the mirror or, I think, which would be better, by people that the mirror has tricked and convinced and coerced that the Sleeping Beauty character is evil and therefore needs to be trapped. So now the Snow White vampire character is desperately hunting down where this cage could be to try to break out their Sleeping Beauty. I also decided that apples was very important for the Snow White theme. And I didn't want this to just be a metaphor for the decay and the aging years of this vampiric character. I also wanted it to be used within the story. So I decided that the mirror is currently using apples as a way to try to defeat, for once and for all, the Snow White vampire character. There is somebody, another character, who's currently using the mirror. It's been decades, maybe centuries, and the Sleeping Beauty cage character is still trapped and the vampire is still looking for them. So, time has moved on from that. We can do some, time skips as American Horror Story is want to do. And the current character who has found and is using the mirror is using it for very sort of evil queen style, but very dialed back ways. Like, I want to be the prettiest person in the world. I want to be the best. I want to be the richest. One of those, I want to be the fairest in the land, but a more modern take. And the mirror has decided to warp this person and use them for their own means. But the mirror is playing on their insecurities and is using this character to get to finally kill off this Snow White vampire character. And the mirror is convincing this user that the only person who is richer or prettier or better than them in whichever way they're concerned about is this Snow White character. You need to kill this vampire. But in this world, you can't do it with stakes, you can't do it with any of the normal means, you have to do it with a poisoned apple. And it's something about a curse or something to do with a fairy tale, something like that. And so, over the years, the mirror has sent over and over again this person to try and kill this vampire character. And that's what the apples are there for. The apples are there to try and kill off this vampire. Because why the heck not? Vampire killing apples. Why not? So the general premise of the story is that this mirror and the Snow White vampire are at odds and trying to get to each other, but never actually physically being able to get to each other. The mirror is trapped within the mirror, and the vampire character is preoccupied by trying to hunt down where this cage is and break out their loved one. And then you have the rest of the world, who are essentially in the way of these two characters. The mirror is manipulating them and using them for its own wills, and the Snow White character is feeding on them, obviously as a vampire, and probably at this point doesn't care if they kill them or not, because they're just so desperate to find where this cage is. And they're very aware, their brain has been warped over many, many years of combating this mirror character, that just about anybody could be serving this mirror. Anyone around them at any one time could be about to betray them, backstab them, try to feed them a poisoned apple. And so they are continuously distrustful and have essentially shut out the entire world. So perhaps an interesting plotline for the vampire Snow White character would be to either have them slowly building back up their trust in people in general, and then in true American Horror Story fashion, having the rug spectacularly pulled out from under them and a great big betrayal right at the end, either by their caged loved one who betrays them, or by somebody else who betrays them just as they reach them. Or you could have it go the other way and they could completely spiral downwards and distrust everybody so much that they end up destroying everything and everyone and making everything worse for themselves. And in true American Horror Story fashion, it ends up being their downfall. Or they end up ruling the world completely by themselves, destroyed and alone, and their loved one is completely kept from them forever. I'll let you guys decide. What do you reckon down in the comments below? Watch the intro at the very end of this video that I filmed and tell me what you think might happen to these characters at the end. So I decided what's going to happen at the end, no matter which direction the vampire Snow White character's plotline goes, is that the vampire and their friends or comrades or betrayers or whoever it is, they end up getting, finally reaching the place where the caged loved person is. And as they go to break them out of the cage, there's all these visions and warped mirror tricks and angles and things. And it turns out that what they thought they were breaking into as the cage is actually the mirror. And they have been completely taken in by the illusion. Maybe they half ate a poisoned apple, but they managed to spit it out, but they're still a bit caught in their throat, using that part of the story. Maybe the poison is slowly taking effect and you can see it through their eyes and their veins and stuff, and they're getting all these visions, and the mirror is finally able to corrupt and warp their minds a little bit. And the mirror convinces them through visions that they are about to break into the cage to release their loved one. However, at the very last moment, we, the audience, and the vampire character realize that they're actually breaking the mirror and finally releasing this creature. I did not promise you a happy ending, did I? I never do. I never promise you a happy ending. So yeah, the ending is that the mirror creature comes out, potentially kills and destroys the vampire, but I think it'd be much more fun to leave them completely distraught by the cage of their loved one, but unable to break in because the poison in their throat means that they've lost all their powers and they're slowly going to die, literally watching their loved one just lie there in a cage. All right, so let's go behind the scenes and see how I filmed this bad boy. I am now taking the before photos of the apples because I'm about to take bites out of them and destroy them, so I need to take all of the footage I want of them pre-bitten. And then we're going to do bitten apples, so say hello to the shiny shinies. Alright, and now I am making maggots. I have discovered the best way to do this is to put some paint on the table, to squeeze out a shape, and then let it sit for a moment, and then you sort of pick it up and roll it around, and then you get this sort of little thing. Seeing as they're going to be mostly in sort of black and white, very darkened shots, I don't think it matters too much that the colours are bang on, but I wanted to make them a little bit yellow so they're not just see-through. Moving on from maggots now, I am making a fake mini dead body. So it's all mostly masking tape. I've got a little ball of masking tape. I'm gonna wrap it all together and put it into this cage, which I have made out of some bits of cardboard. It is loosely based on The Curse of Sleeping Beauty. I really enjoyed that movie, mostly for the aesthetic. And here I have even more apples. Nom 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 nom. Alright, so welcome to the first mini set that I have made. Because, like hell, am I making a gigantic glass coffin. Yeah, that's not happening. So instead, I've made a mini dinky one out of, as you can probably tell, cardboard and hot glue, because I love hot glue. And it also has a sort of body shape that I made out of some, basically masking tape, and then I've covered in some fabric. So it looks roughly like a body. I might change the fabric around, but for now, I'm filming it in red light, so it's gonna look all creepy. Let's go. I have made a spinning wheel. It looks better when it's pulled tight. There you go. You can see all the bits. Look, this is my spinning wheel. And it is a bed sheet and 2 light stands. Because we cosplay on a budget in this house. Alright, so now I'm going to do a sort of hand reaching thing. Alright. The dog is very interested and wants to say hi. Hi, buddy. Do you want to tell everyone what we're doing? Alright, so what have we decided, based on all the comments and responses, are the things we're basing this on? Well, we're basing it on fairy tales and blood and vampires. I decided to do mostly Snow White, and we're doing a little bit of Sleeping Beauty, and we're doing a little bit of Dorian Gray. And there's a big scary mirror. You're right, bud. You're right. There is a big scary mirror. Alright, so now I am making holes in another apple to put my maggots in. Although I have discovered that it looks quite effective to have one just... Where's that one gone? There he is. To have one poking out over the top. Gross. Currently in the bathroom, surrounded by fabric, and trying to get this angle right so that the apple, as I'm holding it, there we go, so it doesn't look like it's got a bite taken out of it, but in the reflection you can see the bite. Yes. Aha! Aha ha ha! I have done it. Oh, the weather outside is snowy, and so it shall be snowy. I'm sprinkling on the flour, and I think I'm going to need both hands, and I've forgotten the song I'm singing, so it's snowing. I need more flour. Okay, right. 2 hands this time. Flour. Okay. Oh, God, I got it. Okay. Right, snowing. Fuck. Oh, no, wait. No. Okay. This is alright. It'll all be fixed in post. I'm getting flour everywhere. Shit. Does this look like snow? It'll do. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, last shot of the filming. And this is the sinister, creepy person in the mirror. I just thought it was easier to put the mannequin up than to do it myself as just me. Now playing around with edits and effects, and he finally looks scary and sinister, and I have also decided that he's going to have cult people working with him who are sending letters, and I'm going to put the text of those letters in the video, and they're going to be checking that, like, the cage is still locked and secure, and sort of hints about that. As always, thank you very much for watching this, my wonderful jelly spoons. If you'd like to support me in any way, I have Kofi and Patreon. I literally am so close to opening my Etsy shop. I promise you it's happening, it really is happening, except for the fact that the UK Postal Service still means I can't post anything to America, so might have to wait a little while for that one. Gives me more time to make things. But anyway, thank you for your enduring support. I love you all very, very much. Have a wonderful rest of your week. If there's anything you would like me to do for next week's Monday Madness, chuck it into the comments below and tell me how you think this story might have ended and all the various bits and pieces. Thank you for your support, my wonderful jelly spoons. Goodbye. The remnants of filming this day. I have flowers, snow, all over the floor. I have this thing now, which presumably I should do something with. I have an unedible apple, and I have a maggoty apple, which I am half tempted to just put into the bin like that to freak someone out. But I feel like that would be mean. And I also have this. So, that was fun. What the heck should I do next week?